Hello and welcome to this pattern recognition video. So I apologize, in my previous video I was supposed to do random tactics patterns and I accidentally forgot to hit the all tactics button. So today we really do have random tactics, more like the tactics in an actual game where you don't know what is actually going on until you figure it out. So I'll try and do at least 10 problems. Pause at any time if you need to think longer. In this position, we just had castling by black, which pins this knight to our queen. But we do have a bishop lined up on the king for a possible discovered attack once this knight moves. All right. Take a look at this. As I said, pause at any time. And remember, when you're trying to improve your pattern recognition, usually it's a good idea to go over puzzles more than once. That way you remember them better and you'll be able to use them in your own games. Okay. Checks, captures, and threats in that order. What checks do we have? Well, we could move this knight and have a discovered check on the king, as I mentioned. And I don't see, well, there is another even better way. Once this knight moves, where do we move it? We could go here with a double discovered check. So whenever two pieces are checking the king at the same time, now if I go back to one piece checking the king, remember there are three or less options. Capture the attacker, block the attacker, or run with the king. But when the knight moves here, you'll have the knight and the bishop simultaneously checking the king, a double check. And when that happens, there's only one option. The king has to run. And the king will have to run into the corner here, and then that will allow us to follow up with a mate. So hopefully you found discovered check here by bishop and knight. The king can only move into the corner, and then the queen will be able to capture, delivering a back rank mate. All right, on to the next problem. Bishop is just captured, attacking our queen here. Is that bishop even protected at all? Can we just take the bishop? We could just take the bishop, but then we might miss a better move. And when you're trying to decide what tactic to use, you want to take a quick look at the material count. So here we have 5 pawns versus 7, so we're ahead by 2 pawns. But we only have 2 minor pieces, and our opponent has 4. So we're behind, we're losing at this point. So we need to act with some urgency. How do we do that? Well, look for the checks first. And if you would have done that, hopefully you'll recognize that the queen can check here, driving the king to f1, and then we can deliver a back rank mate. So check and mate. All right, I hope you found that one. And for these problems, I've rated them 500 to 750. That way they're not too difficult and you can work more on patterns and less on complicated calculation. So this is another back rank mating pattern with the queen covering the back rank and also preventing the king from running here. All right. Rook has stepped forward, threatening, well, queen and rook battery, threatening to capture the pawn with check to our king. That could cause us some problems. Unless we have an attack of our own, and it appears that we do. So as I mentioned, look for checks first. What checks do we have? I only see one. So knight could go here. If the knight does go up there, if the king tries to run here or here, well, then the queen could go here, or maybe the other way doesn't work. Oh, okay, it would. If the knight goes up here and the king runs towards the center, then we can check here on the back rank. But the other option is knight checks, rook captures, then we recapture, and we would have a passed pawn that's looking very dangerous there, with the threat of check and then promoting that passed pawn. So this looks to be a good problem, or excuse me, a good way to solve the problem. Jumping the knight up here. So now this allows us to recapture with a dangerous passed pawn. And the issue is that our queen can check on the back rank and then promote that pawn. The king would have to run here. So check. And also look, once the king runs and we promote our pawn, does this work? The perpetual check. If we go here and we have a check. Oh, that can't work because our queen, our new queen, will be up here and just be able to capture. All right, on to the next problem. We just had a capture. All right, we're looking for checks first. Checks, captures, and threats. When you're looking for any tactics, checks first as they are most forcing. I've mentioned that many times. Okay, and let's take a quick look at the material. 4 pawns versus, what, 6? But they also have a rook for our 2 rooks for our queen. So white is ahead, but we do have possible checks. We can check the king here, take this pawn and check. But what follow-up do we have after that? We could also move up here with check. When the king moves, we could pick off the unprotected rook over here, and then we're attacking bishop and pawn. That could be dangerous. But then our opponent has that possibility. All right. Maybe we go after the unprotected rook over there. I think that might be best. Unless there's a mate anywhere in the works, which I don't see. Then we pick that off. Let's see, here we can just run. And we're just ahead in material. All right, on to the next problem. We have a check against our king. What can we even do here? Attack the knight and threaten to promote our pawn. I think that's best. So if we were to go here, the knight could check us again. But then we can just go here and we'll still be able to promote our pawn, I think. All right, on to the next problem. So, if you're trying to improve your pattern recognition, a good thing to do is pick a group of problems. I only do 10 to 20 problems usually, most of the time just 10, but pick a large number of problems from a book or uh, chess.com or whatever, but a book makes it easy. There's so many books out there with different tactics in them. If they have a few hundred problems, you can go through them nice and slow and then go through them again and repeat going through those puzzles, trying to solve them faster each time until you can just glance at it and solve the tactical problems in 10 or 15 minutes. But remember, if you try problems that are too complicated, then it's more calculation practice than it is pattern recognition. So you want some problems that are generally easier. Okay. Well, if we're looking for checks first, we do have this check. If the pawn blocks, we can capture because we're pinning this pawn to the rook. So maybe that works. If the king runs, once we go up here and deliver a check, the king runs here. We could just fork after that. No, that wouldn't work because they could attack our queen by pushing this pawn once our knight is forking. So, if we check, the king runs, we could go here and check again, driving the king out towards the center. Then we could we could check once again. All right. What am I missing here? I don't know. It looks like we should just check. At least we'll run the king out to the center of the board if nothing else. But if they block, as I was saying, we can just go here and then pick off the rook. All right, on to the next problem. We just had a capture. The obvious response would be to capture back unless we have something better. What do we have that is better? Do we bring our knight up? Bring our knight up here, threatening to fork the rook and the queen. We have to look for checks, though. Oh, also, if we bring our knight up, their queen could just capture it. All right, maybe we look at checks. If we check here, the bishop could block and attack our queen. Then if we check over here, then what? Maybe that works. If we go here, the king could just run though. If the king runs there, then we can still just go after this bishop. Then would we be ahead in material? Because the problem also is this attack pinning the queen to the king. So is it that obvious? Do we just take that bishop? Maybe we just take the bishop, but oh, we could try this. Give up our queen for the rook. Then we capture this other bishop with check. The king will have to move again. Then we pick off this, and we have 3 pieces versus their queen. So maybe that would work. No, they do not like that. Do they like that? So they just want us to take the bishop, I guess. All right. Well, another reason to practice puzzles regularly. You'll see different patterns that you're not familiar with. And hopefully by going over them more than once, you'll be able to use them in your own games. All right, what do we have now? Queen has jumped up here attacking our bishop. Well, maybe we move here, protecting our bishop and threatening a checkmate in 1 with the queen. How could that be stopped? If the rook moves out of the way, oh, then we can attack on the back rank. The king will still be trapped. All right, I think that works. And because of that, the queen is forced to give itself up. So there we go. All right, on to the next problem. We're looking at random, totally random puzzles. So any tactic can be possible in these problems. What do we have here? Look at those checks first. Very important. Here we have a bishop check possible. But when you're looking at checks, before you make those checks, make sure you have a good follow-up. And then you may find a better check. Like this queen move. Check, the king can only run to here because of this pawn, and then we can capture with a mate on the back rank. So check and mate. All right, what do we have next? A bishop has just captured a pawn here. Oh, now there's a discovery possible here if that bishop moves. And there's a threat here, capturing our bishop with check. So we need to act immediately. Look for checks first, and hopefully you have solved this one. Now, a lot of times when there's a bishop or a queen way over on the other side of the board out of the action, a move by that piece can be overlooked. So hopefully you saw that this queen was over here lining up along with the rook on the king here, allowing a mate in one. So there we go, checkmate. All right, I'll try and do 5 more puzzles quick here. Let's see. Queen just captured. Rook is under attack and it's unprotected, threatening a capture with check. What can we do? All right. Well, hopefully you notice that we have the rook lined up here, but if we move to give a discovered attack, the queen can capture. So we need to look for other checks. And that leaves the bishop here. So hopefully you found a mate in one by checking with that bishop. All right, on to the next one. The king was under attack by our queen and runs towards the bishop here, attacking that bishop. Unfortunately for white's king, that allows a mate in one. So see if you can figure it out. Look at all the checks possible, and hopefully you found the one that counts. Queen here, protected by the bishop and delivering a mate on the back rank. Okay, on to the next problem. We just had a capture here. Our knight is under attack. And hopefully you found the mate in one. So take a look at it. Sorry if I gave that away too quickly, but look for the checks. And you'll find the mate in one. On to the next problem. Pawn is pushed forward, threatening to capture with a possible check. White's turn to move, though. What can white do here? Okay. Well, whenever you see a king that has limited or very limited options on where it can move to, because the bishop is preventing the king from running into the corner. Our rook is covering that side. So the only place the king could go is forward. If we could just check the king. So we don't want to move this rook because then the king can run to the center if we move the rook to c1. So we have to move the other rook. And once we do that, the king will be in check. And remember, when a king is being attacked, there are 3 options: capture the attacker, block the attacker, or run. And if you can't do that, then it will be checkmate. So once we do that, 2 pieces can get in the way, the bishop and the rook, but we can capture those and mate. So, if this rook goes here, we just capture. Or excuse me, if this bishop goes there, the rook captures. If the rook moves, then we just capture that next and have a checkmate. All right, the final problem. Here we go. A pawn is pressing forward, threatening to promote. What can we do? All right. If we look for checks first, hopefully that will give us our answer. So what checks do we have? We have this check backed up by the bishop, but then the king will be able to run here. If we check again, the king will run here and be able to escape out towards the center. Now the problem is, do we have time to do anything else? I mean, can we go here? No, because the king would still be able to run out to there. So that looks to be the best thing to do, to go there, capturing with check. The king will be forced to go here. Then what do? We go here. Oh, wait, see, I didn't want to actually move that. All right, let's play through these. All right, now we can just go here, checking. The king will have to move. Then we capture with check. If the king recaptures, then we have time to knock out the pawn. All right, so the king would have to move. Oh, and even better is this. Put the rook here and check. And then our other rook can swing over and we don't even lose a rook then. So that would be an even better way to end it. So, yes, if you see that, the king can move here. We check with this rook. The king will have to move. That allows us to pick off the other rook and also cover the pawn, preventing it from promoting. All right, well, I hope that you did well on these problems. Remember to practice your tactics, your pattern recognition, solve puzzles regularly, and make sure you repeat the puzzles. That way you don't just do them once and then forget all about them. So feel free to leave comments, like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.